Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Logan, and if you're putting together your own media server for streaming movies and TV shows within your local network, one issue that you're going to have to face sooner rather than later is deciding what kind of software you want to use to serve that content to other devices in your home. And that's exactly what I'm going to be trying to cover in today's video. Because here in our home theater, we've been using both PLEX Media Server and JELLYFIN Media Server for a few years, and I think it's a really good opportunity to talk about some of the similarities, some of the differences, and what we really feel works best here in our setup. And for a little bit of context, we keep 4K Blu-ray rips of our physical media collection right here on our Synology DS1620 Plus network attached storage, which currently has a set of 6 14TB Seagate Exos Enterprise hard drives running in RAID. And if all of that sounded like gibberish, don't worry about it. The only point that I'm trying to make here is that we have a large but pretty standard setup that most people out there could replicate without much of any hassle. The hardware in the Synology is nothing insanely powerful, and an older desktop PC could do the same job quite easily. And running on top of Synology's DSM OS, we have both installations of PLEX Media Server and JELLYFIN running at the same time. And I want to be clear here that this is absolutely an option. If you're putting together a media server and you're not sure what software to use, just use both. So long as you have enough RAM, it should work completely fine. We're running 8 gigs in our NAS. As far as the installation of these two solutions go, at least from the perspective of the Synology, PLEX Media Server is really easy to get set up. Literally, all you have to do is head on over to the Synology Package Center, grab PLEX, tell it which volume you want to save to, and you're pretty much done. JELLYFIN is a little more involved since you'll need to install the Docker runtime on your NAS and deploy a JELLYFIN container, but there's plenty of documentation on the JELLYFIN website, and overall it's a pretty easy process. And with each piece of software installed, I feel that I need to quickly talk about the differences in the goals or thought processes or ideology between the two solutions, because I feel like it's very helpful in understanding why we feel the way we do about these two pieces of software, and ultimately why we prefer one over the other. And you see, a long time ago, PLEX Media Server was a piece of software that served your media over the network. And that might sound a little strange, because obviously that's the point, but in more recent times there have been some changes to PLEX that we feel are honestly a little aside from this goal, and they can be concerning as far as how much control you have over watching your content. For example, they've added a bunch of free ad-supported online streaming options, which to each their own, but then there are some features in PLEX, like streaming trailers and extras from movies, that have been added as paid features offered by their PLEX Pass subscription. And honestly, that's fine. It's not something that we feel is essential to watching movies in your home, but then there are some bigger limitations, like the fact that you also need to pay to use the PLEX mobile apps, so hopefully you weren't planning to do that. And then they started asking money to allow you to use hardware transcoding on your own computer with your own media. And what I mean by that is, transcoding is a process where your movie files are converted on the fly during playback into an encoding that's compatible with the device you're trying to watch the movie on. You could say it's transforming the movie into a different encoding. And by default, PLEX does this process in software, meaning it runs a little piece of software on your computer's CPU to handle this conversion. But for 4K high bitrate content, CPU software transcoding can be limiting since it really slows down your computer, and movies could get pretty choppy, especially if you have more than one stream playing back at the same time. So in order to alleviate this, we instead want to leave this job to special dedicated hardware within the computer, which is designed to decode and encode video as efficiently as possible without slowing down the CPU. And that's the hardware encoding that PLEX is asking you to pay a subscription to use. It's overwhelmingly likely that your computer already has the hardware acceleration built in, but for PLEX to take advantage of it, they first need to take a dip into your wallet, and that's where we have a little bit of a problem. JELLYFIN, on the other hand, doesn't have anything like this. It's a completely free and open source project, meaning you can download the source code if you want to, and there's an open community that's constantly working to improve it because they're the ones using it and they want the best experience possible without subscriptions or anything like that. So hardware transcoding is completely available without a charge on JELLYFIN. Now, I'm not trying to make the case that you should brush off Plex completely, because we still use it, and for a few good reasons. But I feel like it's been made clear that with Plex's subscriptions, and now attempts at offering their own free content, it seems like these days they're a little more interested in being an online streaming service, rather than purely providing a way for you to stream media in your home. But that brings us to the issue of actually using these two pieces of software. One of the things that Plex has always done really well from our standpoint, for just about the entire time it's existed, is offering a really nice user experience across hundreds of different devices. If you have something that can play a movie, chances are there's a good Plex app for it already. In our case, we're using Plex on an NVIDIA Shield Android TV for our playback. The interface is slick, it's relatively fast, and most importantly, when you add a movie to your server, Plex is really good at automatically identifying that content and pulling metadata, like a title, description, cover art, a list of actors, things like that. All from the internet, and it can apply it without any manual user intervention. Movies usually play back just fine with minimal buffering, and all of the options for adjustments, such as choosing a different audio track within the player, are decently well laid out. If you can help to ignore all the sponsored content and stuff you probably wouldn't want to watch given it's not on your own media server, we think the Plex app is pretty good and it's consistent across most devices. JELLYFIN, on the other hand, is a bit more of a mixed bag. Out of the box, it has a very basic user interface that puts your movies, TV shows, and other content into tiles that you can click into and browse fairly easily. It'll also go through and scrape content over the internet for movies that you add, but generally we haven't found the JELLYFIN scraper to be as reliable as the Plex one. And I would generally say that the interface is clunkier. Now, JELLYFIN does have one huge ace up its sleeve, and that you can customize the interface however you want, since it's just a web page, and people have made some really cool themes that make it much more similar to Plex or Netflix, and we really like these options. But they just don't have the same extensive device support that Plex offers. Now, with that said, most things usually play fine, and there are some alternative apps for certain devices like SwiftFin for Apple iOS and Apple TV. Overall, we still keep both on our NAS because we like to use both, and we really feel like Plex is a rock-solid option that served us well for a long time. And on the other hand, we think JELLYFIN represents a strong alternative that gives you more control over your media without the inclusion of the subscriptions and other oddities that people are trying to get away from with Plex. In the end, if you're setting up your own media server and you're not sure which to go with, we think that JELLYFIN is a really good place to start, unless you like the value provided by some of the features in Plex. I know we can't speak for everyone, and some of you really might be interested in the wider variety of free content, or maybe the social media features provided by Plex. But whichever solution you choose to go with, we think you'll be really happy. And that's really all I have to say. Both of them are great options. Give them a try and see how you like them. So, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our future content. And as always, have an awesome day.